in this module, we're moving away from the previous few weeks where we've been looking at the different sources of research and how you use them, and some tips on using the raw material of research, into the last run of the course, which is focusing on those pragmatic issues about getting your research done, getting it completed, being able to summarize it to others, getting it polished and getting feedback on it. So the last 3 weeks are going to be quite practical and are going to be really focused on those skills that are a lifetime in learning. They're something that you will constantly build throughout your career. And one concept I'd like you to think about here is the idea of impact. Because research is not just something that's about creating something to sit on a shelf and gather dust. It's about making an impact. It's about making changes. And it's about some kind of tangible outcome that your research is going to have. And in the next 3 weeks, we're really going to be focusing on that idea of how do you maximize impact through good presentation, good communication, and so on. So this week focuses on spoken presentation skills, and these are things that you'll be using throughout your career. You'll be using them in conferences or meetings where you're required to give a presentation. You're required to inform a group about a certain issue or a certain project. They're increasingly becoming useful as part of the executive summary of a reporting process, where you actually have a video that, rather than expecting people to read a whole page of executive summary, you have a video that concisely summarizes that as well. And that's something that will need to be very professionally done, because the credibility of the report would be something that would depend on a really strong presentation there. Lawyers are increasingly being required to make instructional videos for each other in practice, but also there's that move towards the mass clients, where clients are going to be increasingly not on the one-to-one basis, but the one lawyer with many clients. And part of the repertoire of communication devices that we have available to us is the video, where we can create instructional videos. And presentation skills are also useful in terms of the elevator pitch, where you have a short amount of time with a particular person who you want to convince to invest in an idea or change their mind or get them to support you on an idea, and you need to be able to think very clearly and focused on, well, how do I present this? So that's why we're focusing on presentation skills. Something we don't have a lot of, we haven't really covered in a lot of depth in our law degree, or in most law degrees don't, to be honest. And it's something which is kind of ironic, given that a lot of legal work is spoken. And I'm not just talking about barristers' work in court. A lot of what we do is communicate through people in a face-to-face or virtual spoken forum. It's something that we don't really attend to anywhere near enough, I think, in legal education. So, as I said, it's going to be pretty practical the next few weeks. The reading is quite short, and it discusses presentation skills. It has good advice. There's a lot of advice elsewhere online, books that tell you about how to do effective presentations. There's videos. There's all sorts of things, and this is an area where I think getting a broad range of advice from a lot of people is probably better than getting deep advice from any particular one person. As in any writing exercise, good structure is incredibly important, and you need to be able to present to people without relying on PowerPoint. PowerPoint is a crutch. People are sick of PowerPoint. PowerPoint annoys people. And you really need, particularly if you're doing a 2-minute presentation or a 5-minute presentation that we're focusing on here, you need to be able to just grab people and say, and to communicate in a way that doesn't require those kind of props. Now, they can be useful. Visual props can be useful in some circumstances, but the idea of someone putting up a series of slides and talking over them is not good presentation skills. And I think, like the advice given previously on good writing, good presentation, look at a variety of different sources. Look at the way in which ideas are presented in film, in plays. Look at YouTubers who who you think are really good at communicating ideas. Look at the way in which they present themselves, and draw on those different sources. I actually think comedians are probably another source, because comedy is a very, very difficult craft, and it's something that requires presenting ideas in a particular way. So don't just get limited to thinking that legal presentation is about, the barrister in court. There's lots of different inspiration that we can use, and the really good barristers do that as well. They draw on lots of different models and ideas and forms of presentation from lots of different sources. Part of this week 2 is focusing on professional identity and how you are developing that idea of how you present yourself, and the way in which obviously you do that in your writing as well, but there's also that other element to how you present yourself in person. How do you have the particular confidence to speak to someone as another professional? And that's something that's, again, it's learned from experience, but it's something we're hoping to give you a little bit of experience here, and to give you some ideas of how to get going and how to build that identity, the brand of who you are as a lawyer, or what you are like as a lawyer. That is not necessarily just trying to fit into a particular mould of predetermined ideas of what you should be. There's enough latitude to actually put your own personality in there. And I think that's important, because if you come across as dull and cookie cutter, that's not going to make an impression on people. So part of it's building that confidence, building that cultural capital that underlies that professional experience, and also the resilience to be able to try and experiment and do things and fail. Maybe not fail too badly, maybe just not meet up your own to what you hoped you had done, but you need to go through the process of going through and trying something new in order to improve. You have to move outside your comfort zone, and that's something that I've consistently tried to push throughout legal research, is that idea of continually pushing yourself outside that comfort zone. So the workshop this week focuses on doing those short videos for your portfolio, and a lot of the actual nitty-gritty in the workshop itself is going to be focused on Q&A, really, of discussing what's the best approach, what's the best ideas. So it's not going to be very theoretical or legalistic this week. It's going to be more, if you've got questions about lighting, video, programs, what hardware to use. I'm by no means an expert on any of those things, but between myself and other students, we should be able to get some of those ideas. Now, the navigating part of the workbook this week does have some brief discussion of video tools to use, and in the equilibrium section there is also a fairly compatible section on presentation skills. So both of those things are probably going to be useful. But the reason why there is this video component in what is otherwise a very writerly course that bases itself around writing skills is to give you that exposure to a different format of communication, and to start getting you used to the idea. And we're trying to do that in various places in the degree, of getting you used to the idea of creating a video, because it's not something that's easy to do. Most people find it extremely awkward to start with. They find listening to themselves talk, either by recording or on video, to be something that's uncomfortable. I think maybe if you're a total narcissist, you might love it unproblematically, but most people go, do I really sound like that? Do I really look like that? Do I say that often? Do I really have those strange ways of expressing myself? And even saying this now, I'm looking at the monitor and wondering what kind of new behaviours I can find fault with in myself doing this process. So from my own experience, the only way to get better at this stuff is to do it. The only way to get more confident about the video production is to create a whole lot of videos. So we're getting you started on that path. Some of you may already be doing it, that's great, but if you've never created a video before in your life, or you've only done one or two, you find the process to be something that you're very anxious about and uncertain about, that's what we're going to talk about this week. And we're going to slowly but surely move you towards being a better presenter, in person, of course, but also a better video presenter.